Do you need a car to live in Lisbon, Portugal? The answer is no. Hey there, I'm Jorik. Welcome to my channel where I'm an American expat, talk about all things living in Portugal and living in Europe. Hopefully we'll be adding some travel videos once we can do so. So it's May of 2021 and I just yesterday had a couple of people message me asking, hey, we're thinking about moving to Portugal. We're thinking about buying a car. Do we need one to live in Lisbon? And my answer back was, no, if you want freedom and flexibility, sure, I can see why you would want one. And coming from the United States, everybody has a car, it seems, because of things being so spread out and public transportation really not being that great, other than, I'll say on the East Coast, it's much better than as you move out west. But you don't need a car. Here's why I think that you don't need one. Hey, in our experience, we've been here a year and a half. Streets are narrow. There's some older streets. It's hard to find parking, even though our district, or different what we call districts within Lisbon, issue parking passes, and you can get one that's very cheap. It doesn't guarantee that you can park on your street. You may have to park several streets over, where you're parking a quarter mile or a third of a mile away and having to snake your way back to your apartment. You don't have a designated parking spot. There are places that have parking garages where you can either rent or buy a spot in the parking garage. Sometimes those can be very expensive, to where they can be a few €100. We've seen as much as a few €100. That's a cheap one, to a few €1,000, which we've seen are very expensive. But if you wanted to have a guaranteed designated spot, it can be costly, and it doesn't really make any sense. Lisbon, at least if you're within the city, is a very condensed city, so you can walk. You have a metro system that gets to many of the districts and locations. You have a bus system, you have taxis, you have Uber, you have trams. So you have a pretty good infrastructure for public transportation. And within every district, you have groceries, shops, restaurants, malls, things of that nature. And even if you need a major appliance or something like that, you can always Uber to that store, purchase it, and then have it delivered. There isn't necessarily a need for a car, other than when you take a trip. If you're living in Lisbon and you want to go up to Porto or down to the Algarve, or go to some rural area like the Alentejo to go to wine country, or to the Douro for wine country, you can take a train, you could bus, take longer, or you can get a rental car either within the city or at the airport. So there are options without having to purchase or have the need for a car. We took a recent trip down to the Algarve. We rented a car at the airports. We've done that in the past. We went to the Alentejo region, which in Portugal is exceptional wines. Oftentimes, if you're coming from the US or North America, you know Douro because of port wine. But often when you're living in Portugal, you'll find that many people here gravitate towards Alentejo wines as the preferred wine of Portuguese. There are many wine regions, don't want to upset anyone, but Alentejo is really good. But we also rented a car at the airport to go to what's called Évora, which is the hub for Alentejo region. Didn't have any issues. And then that way we used the car just for the weekend, dropped it off. We didn't have to worry about parking where we live. We live in a very old residential area where getting delivery trucks through our street can be difficult. And just the stress of always having to park someplace different every time for us doesn't seem to make sense. It may make sense for you if you choose to do that, and if you're really dead set on having a car. My recommendation for you would be to research parking spaces within parking garages or designated spaces, so then that way you have the same space every night, So whether you're going out and coming in at 1 in the morning, or if you're done with work and you're back at 6 p.m., you have your spot every day that you can come home to. If you want, if you're going, okay, well, wait a second, I'm used to driving, or I have a, right next to my house, I have my spot. You're going to need probably to live outside the city center, live more in the what would be called the suburbs, or outlying areas where you'd have a single family homes and actually your own parking spot next to your house, or a garage. That doesn't really exist within Lisbon. That's rare, and if you can afford that, you're in a different income level if you can afford a house inside the Lisbon city center. That's rare to have. They're usually very expensive to own a single family home within the city center with your own parking spot. So, but there are parking garages. Just think about that if you are dead set on needing a car, my thought is you don't need it, but if you do, look at the additional cost of getting a parking spot within a garage. That way, that will save you some stress and strain, knowing that you're going to have the car in the same spot every day and every night. So hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps as you're considering a move to Portugal. Please look for more of my videos, because I try to give you real world examples from our experience of what it's like versus what you may read on an aggregate website. So if you have any questions, please message me too. I'd love to get comments on questions that you have, good, bad, and different, about thoughts on living in Portugal. So thank you so much, and have a great day.